And then from there we play the double desires for draw power, triple ruler, and triple talents. So the reason why we play ruler over droplets is because, to put it bluntly, you don't have that much advantage when you go first or second. The cards that you have in your hand are usually hand traps, and you don't really want to send much off to the graveyard except for Peskelis or Seahorse, because those actually have decent grave effects when they're sent. But we'd rather just have the ruler for the sole fact of it just stops everything. Fair enough, there is the possibility that your opponent may have some great hand traps as follow-ups, but this is what the talents is for. It's just situational is droplets in comparison to ruler. As for the talents, just play 3 talents. It's amazing. The amount of times that your opponent will walk into this, it's just unbelievable. But the main reason why I actually use the talents is also because of local tech choices, because the hardest matchup that I actually have with this is Flunder, and the reason why is because Statue is a problem, and M-Pen is less of a problem than Statue because I can play around it. But the thing is, you use an effect, your opponent responds because they activate, because they've got the map on the field, and then use this to take the statue, and then you just ram the statue into the M-Pen. Because the reason why you take the statue in this situation is because if they Book of Moon the statue, you can special summon again. Well, if they Book of Moon the M-Pen, you can't do anything. So yeah, that's really my kind of reason for it for locals. And then finally we have the one Call by the Grave and the one Harpy's Feather Duster. I have to play back row removal. I learnt my lesson. My friend borrowed my Eldritch Light deck. I did not have any back row removal, and I lost Call by the Grave because it's a combo deck. And the only trap that we play is the card that says everything becomes towers. So the only reason we play this and no other traps in the main is because all the other traps that are played, like Goes and Rivalry and everything else, only work if you go first. And I would rather play board breakers than off chance of gambling with dice or Rochambeau. So yeah, that's just the reason. And this is just great as long as your opponent doesn't have something to basically prevent this from resolving properly, because it actually has to negate the monster for the rest to continue, which is kind of sad. So your opponent Book of Moons the monster, or they fusion it away. This does not resolve to make everything protected, but that's on the possibility that your opponent has it. Yep. Then for the extra deck, well, it's a 40 card main deck, but for the extra deck, I'm only missing 1 card from it because I had to borrow it because I accidentally traded away the card that's really, really good. So we play the 2 Sea Angel. The reason why we play the 2 Sea Angel is because it's a Link 1, and you need your Link 1s to actually combo off. This searches for the field spell, and it also searches for MARINCESS Dive. This is why we don't play the Dive at 2. This is why we don't play the Dive at 3, so yeah. Then there is 2 Blue Slug. Slug is the one that I tend to not go into first. I tend to go into the Angel first. Slug's only good if you don't have anything particular that you can chain block with, because you have Seahorse in hand, basically. This is the only reason I would go for this over this, is if I have the Seahorse. Then we have the 2 Coral Anemone. This is a reborn. It's part of the 1 card into the rank 4 with the Splash Mage, but if not, it makes free Marble Rock. And the weird part is you get to a certain situation where you have this and you have Splash Magician in the graveyard, and you keep bringing back the Splash, and your opponent just keeps on losing. You just got to remember that this does lock you into waters, so there is 1 card in your extra deck that you can't make if you use this, so you've just got to be careful in that regards. Then we play for the Link 3s, we play the 1 Triangle and the 1 Marble Rock. Marble Rock comes up less often than Triangle. I try and make the Triangle going first, because if my board gets killed, I can use Triangle to reborn my Coral Anemone and a Link 1, so that's actually really useful. The Marble Rock, I tend to only go into later games because it's just to add back the tramp and to sometimes get some of the monsters that are in my grave back into my extra deck, because there are certain times where you start to run out of stuff in your extra deck and it gets really, really thin. And then we play the 1 Bubble Reef and the 1 Argonaut. I tend to go for this first and then this after turn 2. It's very rare that I will go into this first, because the thing is, this is kind of weak because your opponent outs the field spell, and most decks can just walk over this naturally. While with Bubble Reef, it gives you the free draw into the hand traps, as well as it makes itself bigger. So if you have the MARINCESS wave, you can guarantee that against most matchups, it's going to be hard for them to out a 32-beat stick without the field spell. With the field spell, it's even bigger. So this is why I go for this first. Argonaut is a card. It's only really good against like striker matches that I've found, but even then, it's still a bit of a meh going first. I usually only make this going second, because then when I start to do damage to my opponent, it protects stuff for the sole reason of I can start summoning monsters from my spell and trap zone to negate spells. So yeah. And then for the non-MARINCESS links, we play the 1 Splash Mage and the 1 Aura. The Aura is okay-ish. It only works in certain matchups, but it's still pretty decent because if your opponent has just any free fodder in the graveyard, it means that you have 3 ways then to get to a link 3. And then for the Splash Mage, it's part of the 1-card combo upwards. And then the final 2 that I play is the Kragan and the Bagushka. Now there is actually supposed to be a Dweller as well, but I don't have my dollar with me. I got rid of it like the idiot that I am. So the reason why we actually play this is if we can't do decent amounts of damage, not a lot of decks can actually out Bagushka, and not a lot of people actually play around it. So in most matchups that I've come to find, regardless if it's locals or if I'm actually testing for some higher tier events, just making this pass and then sitting on it for 2 turns till I actually draw enough to do full combo is actually pretty decent, because I just play around a lot of stuff. Kragan is great for the sole reason of Nibiru as well. You give them a token, you make Kragan, you pop the token, you can sometimes kill your opponent just off that. No, obviously not if they go first. Well, obviously, not obviously if you haven't done the correct amount of damage, but still popping a 5k Nibiru token is pretty good. And then Nibiru and Kragan attacking with just something else is just really, really decent. And the Dweller, because everyone forgets that Dweller gives water monsters 500 attack when it has a water as a material. So it starts to make certain things really big in here, which is pretty decent. And then for the side deck, it's sort of okay for other events besides just the casual locals, but I've built this more for my locals. So we play the 1 Pankratops because Pankratops is just great. You draw it, it's great. You don't draw it, sad times. The double Cosmic Cyclone, the double Twin, the reason why I play 2 and 2 of this is because of the whole B-Cop situation where this just gets rid of the field spell without not caring without you caring if it's got counter or not, and then this is just good in certain matchups, especially in the Eldritch matchup, because you just get rid of their back row. Because I've seen a lot of Eldritch players not playing Lord of the Heavenly Prison anymore because there is less back row removal, so all you have to do is hit the non-Eldritch cards and you kind of just win from there. Then the obligatory 3-dimensional barrier, because going first with this is fun. Really, really fun. Because if you don't have a way to like your Bagushka or your Abyss Dweller, then this is just even better. But yeah. And 3 goes in match because it's good with Kragan, because you make the Kragan, you flip this up, your opponent's waterlocked, fair enough, in Splight. Splight is really the only deck that's not really bothered about it because they can make Toad and things like that, but that's if they open the full swap package, but it's kind of a bit of a risk.